Keir Starmer's digital ID scheme was supposed to be about stopping illegal working, but now it's taking a far darker turn. He's admitted he wants to expand it beyond work into what he calls other areas of life. That means this won't just affect your job. It could affect everything you do, from banking to healthcare to everyday services. This is the next step towards a digital Britain none of us voted for. Let's break down exactly what's happening and why this should concern every single one of us. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. So it's happening again. Keir Starmer's digital ID scheme, the one that sparked outrage across the country, just got darker. Initially sold as a simple measure to tackle illegal working, the Prime Minister now says he wants to expand it into other areas outside of work. That's right, what began as a tool for employment checks could soon become a passport to everyday life. And if that sounds familiar, it's because it is. We've seen this playbook before, and it never ends well. While flying to Mumbai for a 2-day trade summit, Starmer told journalists there's a case to be made for expanding the digital ID system beyond the right to work. He described it as a way to make life easier, saying it could stop people from digging through drawers for old bills when applying for schools or government services. In other words, he's now openly floating the idea of using this system as a universal ID, not just for jobs, but for everything else. The justification, we're told, is immigration. Labour claim the mandatory digital ID will reduce small boat crossings, which have reached a staggering 35,000 people so far this year. But the Prime Minister's own spokesman has already admitted there's been a slight pivot away from immigration toward making people's lives easier. And if you've been paying attention, you'll know what that means. Once the government introduces a system like this, it never stays limited. Starmer even pointed to India as an example of what success looks like. He praised India's Aadhaar scheme, a digital ID system that holds over 1 billion citizens' names, addresses, emails, phone numbers, fingerprint scans, and retinal data. It's used more than 80 million times every day for everything from banking to healthcare. The UK government says the scheme has saved India $10 billion a year. But what they don't talk about is the cost, privacy, security, and freedom. India's system has been plagued by data breaches and misuse. Millions of citizens' personal information has leaked online. Critics say it's become a tool for government control, where access to basic services can be restricted with a single click. And now, Keir Starmer wants to bring a version of that here to Britain. It's no surprise then that public support has collapsed. Back in the summer, 35% of people supported digital ID. But after Starmer's announcement, support plummeted to -14%. According to polling by More in Common. That's a swing of nearly 50 points, a total rejection of what people see as a massive government overreach. Almost 2.8 million Britons have already signed a petition demanding the scheme be scrapped, yet Starmer refuses to listen. He insists digital ID will be free of charge, but mandatory to work. His words, "You can't work if you don't have digital ID." Nigel Farage has called the plan appalling, saying he'd rather go to jail than carry one. On GB News, he warned, "Before you know it, they'll link it to your medical records. If you're not jabbed, you'll be marked as non-compliant. You'll become a second-class citizen, and he's not wrong to be suspicious. Because once a digital ID becomes tied to your employment, your healthcare, your bank account, it stops being convenient and starts being control." Kwasi Kwarteng, the former Chancellor, defended it as modern technology. But even he admitted, if it doesn't happen this year, it'll happen next year. It's inevitable. Farage shot back, "I'm not against technology, I'm against the state having the ability to control every element of your life." And that's the key point. This isn't about efficiency, it's about power. Digital ID may start with work permits, but it won't end there. Once a single digital identity is tied to your name, it can easily be linked to your bank account, your taxes, your medical data, even your social media use. Every transaction, every record, every action could be logged under one government-controlled system. And when Starmer says other areas outside of work, that's exactly what he's talking about. expanding it into every area of life. This is the digital state creeping forward under the guise of convenience. Tony Blair tried it before and failed. Now Starmer is trying again, just with better tech and softer language. The question is, will Britain fall for it this time? Because once a digital ID becomes the key to living, working, and existing in this country, it's not freedom anymore, it's permission. So as Starmer pushes to expand his digital ID system beyond work and into your private life, remember, convenience always comes with a cost. And in this case, that cost could be your privacy, your independence, and your right to live without government approval. In other news, Sir Keir Starmer has been urged to do more to tackle Christian persecution after Islamists massacred 270 worshippers in Nigeria. The attack, known as the Yelwata Massacre, took place in the predominantly Christian town on June 13th. More than 40 Fulani Islamists arrived in Yelwata late at night on motorbikes, shouting Allahu Akbar as they rampaged through the village. However, it has been claimed that the Foreign Office initially dismissed the suggestion that the attack was religiously motivated. Elliot Banks, parliamentary officer at Aid to Church in Need UK, told a fringe event at the Conservative Party conference, "The response I got back from the Nigerian desk at the Foreign Office from our government was religion is playing no role in this. There is no evidence that religion played a role in this. It's patently untrue." I wrote back and I said, "Look, we've got the evidence. We've spoken to the parish priest." We then got a bit of a better answer, but not very satisfactory, when they said, "Well, it might be playing a role, but there are other factors." Mr. Banks, who admitted it is a multifaceted conflict, stressed that the victims are predominantly Christian and churches have been disproportionately targeted. He also set out recommendations for Sir Keir's government to tackle Christian persecution in sub-Saharan Africa. The UK taxpayer is currently paying £35 million into the Strengthening Peace and Resilience in Nigeria scheme. It's designed to improve community relations and strengthen security apparatus in Nigeria to stop these kinds of attacks. The problem is, Benue is a focus area, but it's getting no money when it's clearly one of the worst affected places. Benue, Plateau State, all of these in the Middle Belt, where the predominantly Muslim North and Christian South meet, they are not doing anything about that. Mr. Banks went on to claim that Benue was not a recipient of humanitarian aid from the United Kingdom. "We would like to see some of that aid money used properly in places like Benue and the Plateau State," Mr. Banks added. Fiona Fearon, head of advocacy at campaign group Open Doors, is also hoping to put pressure on Sir Keir by gathering signatures for her Arise Africa petition. Ms. Farron told attendees, "The aim is to collect 1 million signatures, it's a global campaign, and present it to number 10 next year." Research conducted by Open Doors, a campaign group which co-hosted this morning's prayer with Conservative Christian Fellowship and Aid to Church in Need, found that Nigeria is the 7th most dangerous country in the world for Christians. North Korea, Somalia, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, and Eritrea all finished above Nigeria, with Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan all trailing closely behind. Despite nearly half of the African country identifying as Christian, more Christians are killed for their faith in Nigeria than anywhere else in the world. Nigeria's Middle Belt and northeastern states have become particularly associated with Islamist violence against Christians. Fulani terrorists have been known to destroy churches and carry out kidnappings against the Christian community. Plateau State witnessed a horrific massacre on Black Christmas in 2023, with 200 Christians being killed and 8 churches being burned to the ground. The Prime Minister is currently in India, where he is expected to tout the benefits of a recently agreed trade deal. However, India also ranked highly when it comes to Christian persecution, coming in just behind Afghanistan in 11th. Activists point out that 12 Indian states have now passed anti-conversion laws, with Uttar Pradesh making the punishment for this offence as severe as life imprisonment. 2 major attacks also took place in India last year. A mob of around 200 people attacked a church in Telangana in February last year, leaving 14 members injured. A second attack resulted in a Christian man being killed in Chhattisgarh in May 2024. Shadow Development Minister Wendy Morton and ex-Faith Czar David Burrows also appeared at this morning's prayer breakfast at the Britannia Hotel in Manchester. Addressing the prospect of calling for sanctions, Ms. Morton said, "It is important for those of us in opposition to hold the government's feet to the fire. That's what our role is. We often do raise the issue of sanctions, and this morning has been very helpful to me to get perhaps a deeper understanding of some of the challenges that Christians face." Mr. Burrows, who represented Enfield Southgate in the House of Commons from 2005 to 2017, went on to reveal the ugly side of the Foreign Office. He explained, "There is a blind spot to religion, and it happens across government. The lack of religious literacy, the reluctance to call out the obvious of the targeting of Christians and other religious or belief minorities." Mr. Burrows added, "The other blind spot is development, and aid is deliberately a blind spot. It's supposed to be in the blind of creed, but it does mean that churches and Christian NGOs are left to help the vulnerable and displaced and not be partnered with. We still await for the Foreign Office to comment." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.